Hey everyone, you're listening to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. This week we're celebrating fatherhood. What makes a good father? How are fathers different than mothers? Father's Day's almost here, and we thought it would be fun to look back on our favorite and maybe not so favorite Father's Day memories. And of course, no Father's Day episode would be complete without some stories about our own husbands and fathers. What makes them special? What roles have they played? And what makes us laugh even years later? Let's get started. Hey, Julie.
Hey, Marie.
Hi, Mindy.
Hey girls. How are ya?
We're doing good. Julie's doing really good this morning. Julie, what do you have going on in your life?
We had an exciting night last night. As you know, my daughter is expecting her first baby, and she knows the sex, but has decided not to tell. So we've been trying to get it out of her, and she goes, "No, we just want to keep it a surprise." Well, she informed me yesterday that it's just getting too hard to keep a secret because they are using the right pronoun now at home, and they just know they're going to let it slip, and they didn't want it to come out that way. So they decided they were going to tell. Molly said, "Let's just send them an ultrasound picture and tell them." And Colin goes, "No, I want to make it more fun than that." So he has designed this very elaborate scavenger hunt. She said, and part of it's going to be in Brentwood. And
Wow.
I thought, they live in Texas, which is 15 hours away. I thought, how's this even going to happen? So yesterday afternoon, the first clue came. They have just been referring to their baby as Bean so far.
Okay.
So the clue said, "The time has come to learn more about our Bean. You will have to go to where they burn beans before drowning them in hot water." So we knew it was a coffee shop.
Nice.
Concerning our Bean, and then there were longitude and latitudes.
Okay.
Two different sets. So we had to figure out which one was us, because one was in Texas and one was here. And when we put it in, it was the Starbucks in Brentwood.
Cool.
So David and I get in the car, drive over to Starbucks. It says, "Look for what was once lost and take it with you. You may need it." So we immediately just go in and ask the Starbucks workers, "Do you know anything about this? Something lost. We're looking for a clue." And they did not know anything. So we just start looking around the store, and they have a little wall with a bulletin board on it.
Yes.
And I'm looking at it. I see nothing. And then David goes, "Wait, that's a poster for our cat. It says it's lost." And I look, and there's a picture of my Frida on the Starbucks wall.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And it says, it has a phone number, has a picture of Frida, and it says "Answers to Archimedes." So we take the little thing off the wall, and it has a QR code at the top. So we have to use a scanner on our phones and scan it. And it takes us to this website where it's all in computer language. It's just like mumbo jumbo,
Like code.
Code, yes.
Yeah.
Well, Colin's brother recognizes that it's a certain type of computer code. And he goes, "Oh, all we have to do is, run it through a decoder and we'll see what it is." So he did that. It was a collaborative effort. We all had to share what we found.
What a brilliant game.
Yeah. So he runs it through this code, and it's a series of riddles from The Hobbit. And there's 9 of them.
Okay.
And so we have to find the answers. They're just little one-word answers. And then in each word, we know that one of the letters is important. So then we have 9 letters. We thought maybe we were going to unscramble them, but there was only one vowel. So I knew it wasn't a word.
Okay.
Well, the phone number on the missing cat thing was 314. I don't have it memorized, but it's basically, that was pi. The number pi, because Archimedes was the first to discover pi. And I figured that one out.
I would have already given up.
I was like, what are you talking about?
So all those answers to the riddles were numbered. So we put them in the order of pi. Like 3 came first, then 1, then 4. Basically, that was a web address. When we went to the address, it said, and it had all the ultrasounds. And so we know.
So cool. Yeah. But you can't tell us what it is. I mean, you can't tell on air.
She said to share with your friends, but to keep it off social media. So I'm not really sure if this qualifies. So I won't say anything. I'll let them decide when to share that.
That's got to be like one of the most high-tech ways you could announce the gender of your child.
Wow.
It was so funny because while Julie was doing that game last night, she texted a picture of the clue in Starbucks. And I thought to myself, oh, that's the one that I hung. But I didn't know that I was the only one hanging a clue. I thought maybe Molly had other people around Nashville hanging clues in other places. So, yeah.
Marie, you were the culprit. That's so fun.
Yeah. So on our walk this morning, I'm telling Marie, I said, oh, yeah. And the first clue was at Starbucks. And I said, we just don't know how it got there.
Right.
And she said, I put it there. And I never entered my mind that it could be someone, a friend of mine, you know.
So we'll have to wait until October to announce on Midlife Matters what the sex is of Julie's new grandchild. But it will be an exciting event.
And it's going to be either a boy or a girl. Stay tuned.
50-50 chance of guessing it right.
That's right.
Thank you to Molly and Colin for the way they included us and made us feel special having a clue here in Brentwood. And it was just really creative and made it really fun.
All right. So let's turn our attention to this week's topic, Father's Day. We really felt like we had to give equal time to our fathers since a few weeks ago we really celebrated motherhood. So today we're going to celebrate fatherhood. So we wanted to share how Father's Day started, possible gift ideas, stories about our own fathers, so that if you're not prepared for this Sunday's holiday, as I'm not prepared, maybe you'll get some inspiration or you'll think of something new to do.
That's right.
All right. So, Julie, why don't you kick us off with what is the history of Father's Day? How did it start?
Well, it's a lot less complicated than the history of Mother's Day. A girl named Sonora Smart Dodd was very influential in the establishment of Father's Day. Her own father had raised 6 children all by himself after their mother died.
Wow.
And this was really uncommon back then because most widowers would just place their kids in the care of other family members, aunts and uncles, or they quickly remarried. Sonora just really felt that her dad had deserved the same recognition that mothers were getting on Mother's Day. She would sit in Mother's Day services and I think feel like, well, I don't have a mother, but I have a father. Mm-hmm. And he's done some pretty amazing things. The first Father's Day was held in June 1910, but it wasn't officially recognized as a holiday until 1972 by President Nixon.
My goodness. So all those years that we were nationally recognizing Mother's Day, we were not nationally recognizing Father's Day, like as an official holiday.
Right. I assume it was still celebrated. So now we celebrate fathers or father figures every third Sunday in June.
Okay. So. Well, cool. Yeah. And do you have any Father's Day trivia for us?
Well, I did have a lot on Mother's Day, but basically the consensus is there's just a whole lot less money spent on Father's Day. 40 million less cards are sold on Father's Day than on Mother's Day.
Wow.
Can we talk about why that is?
Yes. Less people celebrate dad than moms. I think moms just kind of take the cake and leave dad the crumbs.
I'm sorry. Do we think that dads care about getting a card?
I know. That's the thing. Like, I just don't think dads care about the holiday the way moms care about the holiday.
Right. I think there's less pressure by dads to be recognized. Moms kind of demand it. We talked about that. Like, we want to be celebrated. We want to be recognized. But I don't hear too many dads saying that,
I definitely think they appreciate it when they are recognized, but they don't maybe expect to be recognized as much as mothers do.
And can we just say that dads are hard to shop for?
Oh,
yes.
Extremely.
I'm really hoping. I know.
Yes. So when I was looking at like Father's Day gifts and the traditional type Father's Day gifts, I didn't even really find as many lists as I did for Mother's Day. But these were some of the things that people traditionally give on Father's Day. And you guys let me know if you've ever given your dad or your husband from your kids this gift. Slippers.
No.
I think I may have given slippers to my dad once or twice. How about the very classic tie?
Yes.
No.
No? You never gave your dad a tie, Mindy, or Bryce?
No. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've given Bryce ties, but not on Father's Day.
Okay.
And my dad doesn't wear a lot of ties.
Okay. All right. How about a belt?
Why would you buy a belt?
Well, the theme is kind of little small things that they'll wear because also wallet is on there.
Oh,
okay,
yeah, wallet for sure.
well, hang on. Let's go back to the belt. I feel like you could buy like the Hulk Hogan belt, like the big gold.
Super dad.
Like best. Yeah.
With a big buckle that says best
The
dad
big-
ever.
Yep. That's the kind of belt I would buy for my husband or my dad.
What about socks? Now, surely you've given socks on Father's Day. No? Julie, have you?
Well, yeah, because that's John's thing,
Okay, right. But
that's right.
did
John
you even
does-
give them to your own dad when you were growing up? Ever give him socks, you think?
I
I
probably did.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of gifts.
I don't think so.
Okay,
No.
how about fan-related items like sports stuff like T-shirts, mugs, hats?
My dad wasn't a sports fan.
No?
Possibly.
Okay. How about tools? Have you?
Probably.
So those were pretty much the traditional Father's Day gifts. You guys must be really
Okay.
going off the grid.
What about fishing stuff? My dad liked to fish.
Well, I
we
would
always
think
gave
that
him
was kind of
something-
sports related too. Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay,
if
yeah.
something to do the sport also
Yeah.
would be good. Yes.
All right.
Okay.
The main thing that I buy was left off of that list.
What is it?
What?
And my dad and my husband know they're going to get one every single year. And it is some form of best dad ever, best grandpa ever.
Oh, okay.
I get them a dumb, like their awesome t-shirt every single year. And it's a big joke because
Yeah. I mean,
you
that's a
can
great
find
gift
them
though.
they are like, there's a Captain America one. There's a new Endgame one out there. I Love You 3000 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
From the Endgame movie.
That's a
I
great
always
tradition.
get them. We do have a great sense of humor between us. So yeah, it's always some form of a great dad or great grandpa t-shirt.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I looked at also, if you're not going the traditional route, what are trending or popular Father's Day gifts. And it seemed like a lot of Yeti coolers or Yeti cups, like insulated
yes.
type things.
Yes, those
a
are
lot,
good gifts.
Yeah. A lot of electronics or
course.
wireless headphones.
Maybe buy them that charger cord that you stole from them.
Yes. We probably don't spend as much as some of the popular Father's Day gifts. I mean, the Yeti coolers. I mean, I think one
Those
of
are
them was
expensive.
$400.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like,
that's not happening.
okay. I think we're thinking more around the $25 Father's Day gift range.
That's right.
Or maybe we might give you a coupon for like a round of golf or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah, we're more cards.
Okay.
He likes gifts of words, and they'll usually
Oh.
almost always do a handwritten card for him, whereas they
Yes.
might buy me a card.
Yeah.
But they usually do a note.
Oh, that's nice. And then does he
Yeah.
save them?
Oh yes,
I like that.
Sometimes I've opened up Steve's top drawer and he will have saved cards that the kids have
Mhm.
made for him over the years. And
yeah.
I think every parent appreciates handwritten notes and cards. Well, of course, we all want our husbands and our fathers to feel celebrated on Father's Day. So one of the ways we want to do that is just to talk about a few stories from our own childhood and about our own fathers. Who wants to describe their father to us?
I just think about, and I think people that know my dad would agree that he was just very kind. And he was very friendly. He never met a stranger. He loved to talk to people. He could pretty much start a conversation with anyone. And he really had a great sense of humor and was really good at telling a story. He loved to tell funny stories. And he had a share of silly dad jokes too. He worked for Dover Elevator Corporation for his whole life, for over 30 years. And, he would joke about his job having its ups and downs and,
that's
silly, silly dad jokes.
Dad joke.
And, his corny jokes. But he was just a really hard worker, faithful, loyal. And I think that's evident that he worked for the same company for 30 years. And it truly did have its ups and downs. And I just kind of wanted to share this little story. I remember my dad going through a really, really hard time at work, like a whole season of time. And he would come home moody and exhausted and angry. And mostly I was overhearing these conversations, between my mom and my dad. And I just knew something was really wrong. And later I found out that someone at work had, not formally, but kind of spreading some rumors about some dishonesty that was going on. And my dad was really known for his integrity and a good reputation. I was just always so impressed that his character was just so above reproach that the people that really worked with him and knew him just said, this can't be true. Like this I know him. It would be impossible for him to act this way.
Mm.
And I just always thought that is something I want people to say about me, that based on her character, if someone was spreading lies about me that, that weren't true, that people could say, no, that doesn't sound like Julie, that I had a good reputation, because it all came out fine. Like years later, this person was at my dad's funeral and just sang his praises, and they had become close friends.
Oh,
So
wow.
he used to use a phrase called killing people with kindness.
Right.
And that's what he did. He just chose to still be kind and to just go into work every day and do the right thing. And it just worked itself out. He didn't like slander that person, and he did the right thing, and he won that person over. And that just always was a great memory for me.
Oh, that is wonderful.
That is beautiful.
All right, Mindy, do you want to describe your dad?
Oh, sure. So my dad is the strongest man that I know. He was in the Army all while growing up, and he's still doing civil service at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, always living his life really in service of others. He's also hilarious. Anybody that talks to my dad will be laughing. He's very generous. I always felt very protected, very well provided for, but also knew that while he was active Army, he had to leave our family several times. I just always really admired him. Now I'm so thankful for his life. He was not a Christian when he met my mom, and became a Christian several years after they were married, and has really come full circle from coming from a difficult life to now leading such a godly life and raising my brother and I in a Christian home and loving my mom. I love how he loves my mom.
Aww.
So it's just, he's just the best guy that I know. And I love that my children get to have him as a grandpa.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Sweet.
Yes, that's really nice. All right.
What about you, Marie? I feel like I know your dad somewhat.
Yes. I would say that my dad, if I was going to describe him in a nutshell, is just a super hard worker. He's just forever has a project, and he's just a really constant hard worker. I'd also say that he really likes to socialize. Both my parents love to socialize. My dad is funny. He's friendly. He's always been very hobby oriented. He's raised tons of animals, gardened a ton, always having a lot of interests that were outside of his job, and he always got us involved in them too. He was always involved in our lives and interested in what we had going on. I just think of him as a very stable presence. Like, I never had to doubt whether he was going to be there. I think that's what's great, if you can say that about your dad, is you just kind of took him for granted, sort of, because you just knew he was going to be there.
He was there. It was just that sense of security.
Steady.
Yes. So anyways, I love my dad, and I've really gotten to know him better and in a different way since I've been an adult. It's one of my greatest treasures is that my parents do live close by, and I've gotten to see him be a grandfather, and I've gotten to relate to him as an adult and spent time with him. And my kids know him. They know his jokes. They know his life stories. I mean, he'll tell stories and the kids are like, oh, we know that story, but it's still funny, and it's just a real bonding experience that he is close. And I hope we get to have that for a long time.
Oh, sweet. I love hearing that. I like how you described him. Like, he just didn't have to wonder.
No, you didn't have to wonder. Okay, so what kind of roles did your dad play in your life? I mean, they can wear several different hats. Julie, what kind of roles did your dad play?
I just remember him being a constant encourager. He always saw the positive, the best in something. And he thought I could do anything. He really did. And he supported me in all my endeavors. And there were a lot of them. I would say he was a coach, in life. And literally, he was my coach some. I played tennis with him. He had a group of men from church he played tennis with, and he let me play doubles with them probably for several years on every Saturday morning at a park. Not a fancy tennis club, just at a park,
Right.
He helped me with my softball. When I wasn't at practice, he was throwing pitches to me. And then in middle school, he actually became my volleyball coach, and we won the championship. And that was so exciting.
Wow.
I'll have to post a picture. I have the picture of me and my dad and the trophy. Yeah. He was at every recital, track meet, game, whatever. And I think not having a boy, he really was pretty happy that I was a tomboy and he could still be in that world,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I think about the roles my dad played, it's funny because he taught me to play tennis. And that was something that we would do together, especially in the summer evenings, go down and play tennis. Now that I'm adult, I realize that he probably let me win a lot more than I actually won. But it would be like, oh, well, if you win, then we'll go to the Tasty Treat afterwards and get ice cream. And magically, I would win.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, Marie, when you and I have played tennis with your dad, I think he won.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think we were on one side and he was by himself maybe and still beating us.
He didn't let us win at all.
That is hilarious.
No, he only just gave up tennis maybe 2 years ago. I think he finally thought maybe it was too hard on one of his knees. And the same thing with the cheerleader, Julie. Like when I played tennis, my dad thought I was going to be a superstar. I loved art. And, every painting, he'd be like, oh, you should have a show. You could sell a ton, And the funniest thing, the biggest thing that typifies to me what a cheerleader he was that a few years ago, I had a blog, just a personal blog, and he used to love to get to work and open those posts and read them. And he said he would do it before work started while he was drinking his coffee. And if I hadn't had one out for a week or so, he'd be like, I haven't seen a new blog post. I think he really liked seeing that insight into my world. But anyways, after he had read the first few entries, he called me one day. He's like, Marie, that is great. He goes, you need to call the Tennessean and tell him you want to write a column once a week.
Oh.
Now, only a dad can say something like that. Like, you don't just call up the Tennessean and say, I want to be a columnist for you.
Say, well, why not, Marie? Why didn't you call them?
My dad said I'm really good.
Exactly.
And I just appreciate that so much, that you can have someone in your life that thinks you're so great, but it's just so funny too,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I would say that one of the biggest roles that he played in my life that I appreciate to this day was he is the one that instilled a love of reading in me. Mm-hmm. And what a gift that is. He did it by example and also we lived in a small town and we would walk together to the library, he and I don't know, maybe it was a mile, but after dinner and talk on the way. And he would stay at the library as long as I wanted to look at books. And then he was always encouraging me like, wow, look at how many books you got, or look at how many books you've been reading, or what have you been reading? He just really instilled that. And I feel like a love of reading is just a huge gift in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so I give him credit for that.
That's neat.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So the roles my dad played, it's so funny because as each of you talked, there were things that jumped out. And I'm so thankful. I can also say my dad was kind of my biggest fan. Similar to Julie, I liked to do a lot of things. And there was always something new that I wanted to try, or a club that I wanted to join, or a sport that I wanted to play. And I always was encouraged to do that, even though I knew that he didn't really make much while he was in the Army. I mean, they really had to stretch while he was active military. Like when I started playing the flute, I mean, he started combing the papers, looking for the best flute that he could find that was a good price. And we drove, we were in San Antonio, Texas at the time. We drove across that big old city to find me a beautiful flute that was $90. And it was a big deal.
That was a lot back then. Yeah.
It was really a lot. I still have the flute to this day. But I just remember him, like he fully just got behind anything that I wanted to do. But I have an absolute love of being active because of him. When we would watch TV, you couldn't fast forward or pause the TV back then. So we would do sit-ups and push-ups on the commercial breaks. You better believe when we had those fitness tests at school, I was rocking it out in the sit-up department. We played a lot of sports as a family. We hiked a lot. We adventured a lot. Of course, moving new places, there was always something to do. And so I appreciated that they forced us on those family fun outings.
Right. It sounds like we all had sort of a little bit of hero worship of our dads.
Oh, yes. My dad was the epitome of Captain America.
Yes, they're the strongest, they're the fastest,
That's right.
And it's funny because my dad teases me that when I was a teenager, I do not remember saying this because I always thought my dad was fit and strong. But apparently, as a teenager, I told him, Dad, your arms are getting super skinny. And you're losing muscle. I don't remember what I said exactly. And anyways, he bought a weight set and has lifted weights in his garage like every year up until probably just like a couple of years ago. And he always says that it was because I made a comment. Now, I don't even remember saying that, but you know how if your teenagers comment on something to you, you're like, I better take notice.
My teenagers make fun of me all the time. And my
probably
middle
just said it in
schoolers.
passing too. Probably.
I know, but just so funny.
That is funny.
So there are a lot of fun things about fathers. Definitely, I think that fathers are different than mothers.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah.
Your father is different than your mother when you're growing up. And even in our house today, I am different than my husband, and my kids know that. So let's talk a little bit about the differences between fathers and mothers.
I was thinking funny here.
Okay. Yeah, go for it, Julie.
What they buy at the grocery store.
Yes, go for it. What does John like to buy?
Well, he always comes home with Shrek Pop-Tarts and Nerds.
Oh, Shrek. That's
yes,
awesome.
not just Pop-Tarts, but Shrek Pop-Tarts.
Yes.
Okay.
And, they're purple and green. And
yeah,
just,
those are special. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, special. And he still goes to Sonic to get a Nerd Slush. I remember one time Steve said, John, how old are you?
I like the Nerd Slushes too, though. I always get that in there.
Okay. And he definitely will buy in bulk. I don't know if this is a man thing or not, but if he knows it's something that we need, like toilet paper, we have tons of toilet paper because he said, well, Julie, we're never going to outgrow the need. We still need it. So, and I'm like, yeah, but we don't have a place to put it. So
you're not wrong, John. You're not wrong.
And if he hears that one of the kids likes something, like David will say, oh, I tried this new Coke Orange. The next time John goes, we have a crate of it.
Right.
Like
stocking up on the Coke Orange.
Oh, I heard you liked it. And David was like, well, yeah, but like
I'm not going to like it after I finish this crate.
Not for the next 10 years.
Yeah. So he's really good about saying, well, I thought we liked this. So he buys a ton of it,
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking in our house that Steve is definitely more relaxed. He's more fun, and he's way better at math. Or really any subject.
Amen. I can agree with that.
Yeah, John's definitely the smarter of the two.
Ask your dad.
Yes. And definitely I could see him buying a lot more fun things at the grocery store. But I asked my oldest daughter as I was preparing what she thought, and what she said really sums it up. She said, he's the one to go to if you want to have an experience, like a fun afternoon out or an adventure. You're the one to go to if you want to be nurtured. When I have a problem, I'll talk to you about it in extreme depth. I go to Dad to help me get my mind off it. She also said, you warned me of all the ways my plans could go wrong, and Dad helps me plot them. And she said that you need both. You need both in a family.
Right.
So as much as I hate being known as the more serious heavy in the family, I know that is my personality, and it's also my role, in quotes. I am the heavy.
Well, don't you think the role of dad lends itself to being, they get to be the fun guy kind of?
I do
think what I mean?
That.
I just feel like if I ever left the kids at night, they were going to get to eat kind of what they wanted to eat. Or bedtime was going to be later. Or sure, you can wear that if it didn't matter. Like when they're little, I just feel like they were more, it was just going to be a more fun night instead of the regular routine with mom.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Steve, I know that Steve would be nodding at me at my instructions when the kids were little and then completely ignoring them.
Right.
They're like, oh, we went out for ice cream at 9 or, Yeah.
How is it in your house, Mindy?
I would say it's so funny. Definitely in our house. I'm sorry, Bryce. I'm going to have to say that I'm the fun one.
I can see that, Mindy.
I'm the fly by the seat of my pants, but I'm also a routine because I have to be now. You have 4 kids. At some point, you got to settle down and go by a calendar. But Bryce is so intentional. He is organized. He loves to process and prove. So he'll go into the kitchen and he says, this is not really working. This doesn't make sense. So he'll change. So he sets up my kitchen for me. At the same time, his love language is physical touch. So all of the kids know, like, come sit with dad, come snuggle with dad, give dad hugs, give dad kisses. He's very touchy-feely. But I have to say, I did think of a story with my dad I have to share, because something that's different from fathers than mothers is he says things, and Bryce says things that mothers would never say.
Oh.
For instance, when I was in bed at home and I would start yelling, Mom, Mom, that annoying kid
Right.
mom yell, my dad would yell back, shut up, you don't have one. And it seems harsh, but I would just like,
I guess they don't want me to bother them right now.
Like what mother would tell their kid to shut up? You don't have a dad. like dads can get away with saying stuff like that. Like
Right.
when Bryce and I go on dates, he tells the kids, don't call us unless you're dying. Like, we don't want to talk to you. We're on a date. And I'm like, I would never tell my kids I don't want to talk to you. But he's like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm on a date with my wife. So I feel like they could get away with a lot more than maybe what mothers, we would be like, there's no way I would let that come out of my mouth.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely think there are a lot of differences, and it's good to appreciate them. It's good to appreciate those things that are different. Sometimes Steve and I can get in fights because I really want him to be more... I really want him to be like another mother sometimes. Like, I want to leave the kids in hands like he gets to leave the kids. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm like, I want a mother. I want to leave for the day and know that a mother is taking care of them. And when I get home, it will have been done the way I wanted.
Those have been some of our biggest fights, too.
Really?
He said, you asked me to do something, and then you tell me how you want it done. You don't trust me to do it my way. And that is so true. I was asking him to be a mother, which he can't be.
Right.
I just don't know why they can't take directions. Like, what's the problem?
Yes.
I left you a list.
Something you said, Mindy, I think is true. This might be a general statement about men and women being different, but dads can sometimes maybe come across a little harsher or tougher. Right. And I think that might be rooted in their vision is to prepare their kids for real life. Whereas I don't know that that's always what I'm thinking about. And I think that's kind of their overarching.
Sometimes we want to protect them from real life.
It's
right.
True.
And I think they're thinking the bigger picture, the longer. And so they can have them maybe come across as tough or gruff or less sensitive.
Right.
But I think that's probably why.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. So what are some things that our own husbands have done to be good fathers? I think this is kind of a hard question because I think being a good father doesn't look just one way.
Right.
Different generations, personalities, backgrounds, they're going to make, in quotes, good fathering look different. I think the common theme that is there between all good fathers is that they're stable, secure, and consistently involved in their child's life. I do think, like I said before, their child can take them for granted. They know through their words and their actions that they're loved and important. And I think that Steve has always done that for our kids. I don't think our kids have ever questioned, is dad going to be here tomorrow to be involved in my life? Or does dad care about this thing? Or, can I count on dad? He's always willing to be involved in whatever they're doing, and he cheers them on. And he's much more encouraging and often more patient than I am in teaching them things. I'm not a good teacher, but I feel like Steve is a way more patient teacher than I am. He loves to travel, and he's taken them on lots of trips by themselves to see games and concerts and places they've wanted to see. And I appreciate that because when, one of them says, I want to see so-and-so play in Chicago, I'm like, we don't live in Chicago, and I'm not even going to think about trying to get you there. Like, see if they come to Nashville sometime. But if they go to Steve and say, hey, we really want to see this concert, he'll find a way to make it happen. Wow. And I always appreciate the fact that he is willing to help me, his wife. He's always willing to pitch in and help me. I feel like he's set a good godly example. and he has provided for us, all these years and worked really hard. But again, I just want to say that my oldest daughter, for this, she said, I appreciate that he's always supportive and down for a good time. He likes to adventure and take trips with us. You could give him the dumbest dreams that you have, and he'll find a way to make you experience them. You could be like, I'd like to see a snail today. And you look over and he's Googling snail museums. And that is just the way that he is. Like, if he knows that something is on their kind of bucket list, he'll try and make it happen.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I didn't ask anybody, so I don't know. I just know that when our kids were young, they picked at each other and fought quite a bit. And that really just pushed John over the edge. He just did not tolerate that very well. And so what he really enjoyed was that one-on-one time. It started small with breakfast before school with Molly, donuts with dad, or if he had the day off, he'd take them for lunch, or let's have a date and go out to dinner. And then it moved up to when we were in Memphis, he would drive Molly to Opryland for the day, and go to an amusement park. Or as the boys got older, they started to go to all these different Major League Baseball parks. Let's see how many we can go to. And then they went on sailing trips, and they would spend the day at the zoo. And a lot of it was to maybe give me a break on a Saturday, but they looked forward to that. Like, he was the fun one. He was the adventurous one, and and one other thing that is kind of funny that I like is that he always enjoyed watching the TV shows that they liked that were at their level.
Yeah.
Right.
And I really remember him loving the show. He's probably going to be really embarrassed. iCarly.
Oh, really?
Oh, how
And he
funny.
loved that show. He knew all the characters. And it was funny because when they would sit around and have all the, the quotes from the show and talk about it, he knew exactly what they were talking about. He knew all the funny lines and the side jokes and everything. And eventually it kind of became true with The Office. And today, if they're laughing about something that I don't get, I say, oh, yeah, that must be from The Office. And that's usually true. So he likes to kind of keep up with what they like to have something to talk about, I think.
That's really good. And that's so important because you need someone in the house willing to keep up with like pop culture and be on their level. And so it's really good if one of you actually likes it.
Yeah,
that's true.
He also introduced them to the Three Stooges early on.
Oh, I love that.
They watched all the Three Stooges. We still have favorite episodes that we talk about, that we watched. And I don't know if all dads do that, but I appreciated that he was wanting to stay in tune with them in that way.
Yes, that's great. That's really good.
And I do like his example that he has set for hard work. He goes to work every day, sometimes 12 days in a row, and his days are at least 11 hours long. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes he's had to work on Christmas Day, Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. But that's just kind of the life of a doctor, and people get sick on holidays, and he never complains. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he loves it. I'm not saying he is wishing he was there, but he just says, this is the job I have. This is what needs to be done. I'm just going to make the best of it when I'm there. I just think that's been a good example for our kids. Zero complaining. And I really respect him for that. He couldn't always control the holidays he had to work because everybody had to do their share, but he did always make a point to request off for their birthdays.
Oh, that's sweet.
So, that was fun.
Cool. Mindy?
I love being able to talk about Bryce. There's just never enough said, I think, about the father, about the dad. And I love celebrating him. And I love speaking words of affirmation for him, because one of the things that he does, I think, that means the most to me is he is a godly man. He already has just this incredible integrity about him. He does things well. But he has made it a point to love me well. And I think of anything else other than being a Christian, for him to love me in front of our children, to speak that to me in front of them, to teach our children that that's how a man should be in a relationship. I think there's just not enough of that out there. But he has set the tone that I come first. Our relationship comes first. After that, he loves them with abandon. I mean, he does everything to show them that he loves them. And so I appreciate the hard worker that he is, the provider that he is. Thank you, Bryce. I love you.
Yay. Well, we've certainly praised them a lot. And our next question, I should just have wonderful, wonderful memories. But our next question was share a memorable Father's Day with your own kids and husband. I asked Steve this. He said, I can't remember anything. Oh. And I thought, oh my goodness, failure on my part. Like, I know
you should have bought him a belt and socks.
I know. We have pictures taken with him on Father's Day.
Right.
But I guess we've never done any memorable activities that really stuck out to him. So I'm going to have to up my game this year. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Oh, no.
What do you guys have to share with memorable Father's Days?
One happened last year, and one was just a memory of when Molly was really young. I think she was probably preschool. She made a paper tie for John, and it was blue construction paper, and it had little pieces of torn paper all over it, like a mosaic,
Right.
And it had a little piece of yarn to go around his neck. And he was thrilled with it. And I remember him getting up for work. We have a picture of Molly and John by the front door, and he had that tie on going to work. Aww. And Molly, you might want to close your ears. But he had his other tie in the car that he wore at work. And then he had that on, the paper tie he would put back on while he was still in the car. So when he came in the door, he was, wearing his paper.
That is so cute. Sweet. I love that.
Oh. So I love that picture because she's so excited that he's actually wearing it to work.
Yes, that's precious.
And then last year on Father's Day, we were on a big family trip. All 7 of us went to the UK. I don't know if I've told the story on the podcast, but we had spent a really rough 23-hour day that involved driving 3 hours in Scotland, then taking a ferry boat to an island where we rode a bus for 2 hours and then got on a boat and we rode through some very rough waves, all to get to this island called the Giant's Causeway. Well, the waves were so big that day that we couldn't even land on the island. So we are staying on this boat. And they're like, okay, there's the island. We just got to look at it. And everybody on the boat is sick, throwing up. Oh. Our family is all sick. And when we get back to land, they are not speaking to us.
Right.
Like, Mom, what have you done to us? Why would you take us on a trip that's going to last this long? And remember, we have to do all of this in reverse to get back home, And so
oh man,
it was just exhausting. And I remember getting in bed that night, and I think the next day was Father's Day. And John is saying, I just wanted this trip to be something great, a memory, and to, create an event for the family that they're going to want to keep coming back to. And he goes, I think we just blew it. I don't even know if they're ever going to want to come and go anywhere with us again. And I remember crying in bed because I've never seen him despondent. He usually just laughs things off or sees the best. And he was so upset and so hurt. And I was just crying thinking, you're right. You're right.
Our kids hate us.
They're just never going to go anywhere with us. They think we don't know what we're doing, Oh. And so the next day was Father's Day, and they had drawn him a little card of Scotland, and they had all written something to him, just really praising him and appreciating him for what he had done to provide for them to come on this trip. And it just made his day because we were really worried.
Oh,
right. And it's one of those things I think we talked about on the travel podcast where you can laugh about it now. It was a serious mishap, but it's funny now.
So it really was memorable, just not the way that you were hoping.
Right.
But the actual Father's Day was sweet. So that's good. That's
and we learned a lot. We learned a lot.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Well, it's funny. I asked Bryce, I said, so do you have like a special memory? And, other than the awesome t-shirt that we always pick out for him,
right?
We have always planned our beach vacation to either start or end on Father's Day because it was always just a great time for us to go. And so that's kind of the time that we go to the beach. And he said, that is what I want. I want us to be able to go to the beach. And that's when we do our family vacation. Because then we're all together.
Yeah, and that's a great tradition.
So that's just kind of the Father's Day is we typically just go to the beach. He gets a great new t-shirt because he's the best dad ever. Right. And we go get ice cream and he just loves that we're all together. So nothing like spectacular, but now this year may be a little different because our school gets out so much later here. And so who knows? We'll see. But I'm still already on the lookout for this t-shirt.
Right. Right. All right. Well, we wanted to say a little bit about absent fathers because we are cognizant of the fact that there are people listening that either through divorce or death, or maybe they just never knew their father. There are people that do not have their father with them to celebrate on Father's Day. And Julie, you had done a little bit of research about this.
Yeah, I didn't realize how far-reaching this was, that 1 in 3 women describe themselves as fatherless daughters. And
1
either,
in 3, that's a lot.
Yeah, for the reasons that Marie mentioned, like maybe it's absence due to alcoholism, like they're in the home, but they're just not there, not present.
Okay.
Or drug addiction or abandonment or divorce. I think a lot of girls grow up okay because they've had maybe stepdads or grandfathers come and fill the gap, which is great. But I think unless people really deal with that and realize that is a loss. Like, I know there are a lot of single parent homes and mom is doing the job of both, but I think that dads are important, and it is a loss if you haven't had that. If you haven't known your biological dad and had that relationship with him. Our society kind of wants to dismiss dads and say they're not important, and they are. And I just think it's important for people that don't have that to acknowledge that, to grieve it and to admit that it's a loss so that you can move on. So it's my hope and prayer that if you categorize yourself as a fatherless daughter, that you can find some reason to celebrate the family that you do have, for the men in your life that were there for you.
Right.
Right. And if you're a Christian, I was just doing a little bit of looking on internet, and I thought this was special. If you're a Christian, then you know that God has a special place in his heart for orphans and the fatherless. And he offers to fill the role of a father in Scripture, and he invites us to call out to him when we're in trouble and to cast all our worries on him and to enjoy his company. He models for us the characteristics he had in mind when he designed fatherhood. Although many times earthly fathers do not live up to the ideal, God promises that in him, no one has to be without a perfect father. And I think that even if we've had a father, we all know that our fathers and our husbands are not perfect. They all have failings. They all sin. Not one of them can be a perfect father, but we know that God can be a perfect father. And I do hope that people listening will have that hole in their life filled by him.
True. That's a good point. As we've pretty much kind of idolized our fathers here today, but they were human. They made mistakes.
As we all do. But it's so ironic because, nobody's perfect. As moms, we just said, we're not perfect. But Bryce and I kind of joke about this, but it's actually true. If a child grows up and has trouble, all of the self-help books out there kind of label like it's the dad. It's his fault. Like,
oh, I always feel like they blame it on the mom.
It's so funny because I always feel like they blame it on the dad. Like reading books about how to make your daughter feel loved and not look for love and acceptance from boys, right? So it's the dad, teaching boys how to be, have integrity and be providers and be protectors. Well, they learn that from dad. So there's all these things that dads can teach our children that we cannot do. We try maybe, especially if you don't have a husband, then the Lord, I think, helps you in that. I know my sister-in-law, I feel like she does a great job. She's a single mom. She does ask for help, and she has times where her girls call Bryce and talk to him, but she really does fill both of those roles. But yeah, dads play a huge part. And I think when they're not there, I mean, it's significantly challenging in ways, for those children. So men, when I see them kind of stepping in through the church or neighbors or friends, or like you said, uncles, family members that can step in and be there for those kids, it's truly a blessing.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, we hope that all listeners do have someone in their life this Sunday that they want to celebrate, whether it is the father of your own children or the father that you grew up, or a father figure that was important and influential in your life. We do want to say Happy Father's Day to all the dads. We know we have at least 3 dads listening. Bryce,
That's right.
John, and Steve. So happy Father's
right.
Day.
Happy
Yes,
Father's
happy
Day.
Father's Day.
We love and appreciate you. I know my own dad listens. So Chuck.
And my dad. Yeah.
Yes. And Paul, we appreciate and love you. And Julie, I know that you appreciate and love your dad. And if he was here, you would be echoing that 100%.
Yes, I miss him very much.
Yes. So happy Father's Day to everyone out there. And we hope that it's a wonderful day for you.
And maybe give us a shout out of some gift ideas.
Yes, yes. If you have a wonderful Father's Day idea or a Father's Day gift idea, obviously I need some help since my husband could not remember one and I couldn't remember one either.
I know. Let me know what stores got those T-shirts out there.
Yes, yes. If you see them,
I'd
tag
love
us.
to see pictures of people with their dads too, like when they're little.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
Dig
Yes.
up some old pictures.
Yes. And we'll try to find some pictures with our dad. All right. Friends, we'll talk to we're you so ladies glad you next joined week. us today.
All right.
If
If
Okay,
you enjoy
bye.
Midlife Matters, we hope you'll tell a friend. Show them how to find us on their phone and hit the free subscribe button so that they never miss an episode. They can also download and listen to each episode right from our website, midlifematterspodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Midlife Matters Podcast. You can also email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday. Bye.